This is a Psion Printer too, and it's used to print things from a Psion organiser, quite obviously. And I'll see if I can get it working. This one is not working very well. I don't know if you can see there, but there's a bottom row of dots missing on the printout. So what I can do, I've got a program in here, I can go in and list it. There you go. And you can line feed with shift space. It gives you 1, 2, 3 lines. So this just prints out the numbers from 1 to 1,000. So very short program, but I've been using it to test the printer, and it's a nice machine really. Over here it's got a top slot pass through, which is a bit of a complicated thing, and internally some of these had a magnetic card reader. I think that slot there, which isn't a slot here, it's blanked off, was probably for the card reader, and takes wide paper. It's fairly fast and quite good for program listings and so on. Unfortunately, it's also got a battery in it, and the batteries leak. And if I take that one away, I've got another one here. This one is, well, it's in much the same state really. It also doesn't print the few bottom lines of the printout, but it's also got a problem with a limit switch over here. The first printer had a problem, but I cleaned it up. This one I can't clean up quite as well. The printout goes here, or the printer paper goes here. Take that out. The printer mechanism is here, and then there's an interposer board which goes from the printer mechanism to this PCB here, and the battery connections come in here. And unfortunately on the two printers I've got, battery corrosion has eaten away circuitry in this area. I think I'm certain it's eaten away a track here, because I repaired it, and unfortunately it didn't make much difference. So I think there must be other tracks which are not working, and I mean, it's unfortunately it seems to be I think it's a 4-layer board, and it's got tracks on the inside of the PCB, so it's going to be tricky working out what's on here. This is the pass-through connector. The organiser plugs in here, and then you've got this circuitry which is remarkably complicated, and a pass-through connector here, and there is power supply input here which comes in on this interposer board as well. It's a thermal printer, just standard thermal paper, none of this metallized stuff. And if you look down here, there's 2 EEPROMs. Now I don't know why that is, and if you look at the labels, they've got the same label on. So if that's a checksum on the end, they've got the same checksum, same version number, everything's the same. And I can't think why there are 2 versions of the same code, or they've got the same label on different versions of code, which also doesn't really make much sense. Now on this printer, this chip and this chip, which is an EEPROM, are missing. The footprint's there, it's the same PCB, but they're not there, so obviously it can operate with just this one. Why that's there, I really don't know. Another thing that's interesting about this is that the pass-through connection, the Psion expansion slot and the data pack slot, they are different but very similar. It can only really operate with one peripheral. So when you plug a printer in, really it can only operate with a printer. but you can plug other things in. Now you can definitely plug a comms link in, because that's mentioned in the menu. It's mentioned in the manual. And there is an explanation on the internet which explains how the printer checks to see what is in its expansion slot, and it loads its own ROM. So when the organizer checks this slot, it actually loads the printer ROM into the memory of the organizer. That hooks into various system calls, and those system calls let it then go out, find out what's on its own expansion pass-through, and hide itself away as a printer and allow this ROM to be loaded into RAM and operate, but sort of transparently through the printer. Now that's quite a complicated thing to do, and what's interesting about that is that the printer will load the device's ROM into the RAM of the organizer, but the printer code does that, not the organizer code, which is what normally happens when you plug something into the top of the organizer. So maybe that's something to do with these ROMs. Maybe it supports this ROM natively. I don't know. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense having these two ROMs here. But anyway, this is damaged here, and it also doesn't work in a sort of similar way. It's got very faint printing. There's also a problem, I think, with the limit switch. It has trouble printing. It doesn't go to the far right of the print paper. It just sort of prints half, well, yeah, your 80 columns, is it? Whatever the number of columns is, sort of squished down into the first half of the paper, so there's something definitely not right there. I think that's a sensor track coming back from the print mechanism, whereas this one has got some dots missing. So that's a real shame, because it is quite a nice unit. Now the complicated part of hiding itself while the device that's plugged in here is going on is complicated even more if you've got the magnetic card reader, because that has to be connected through this slot as well. So then the printer's hiding itself, but it's also presenting two other devices. So how it does that, I'm not really sure. And I've had a look. Well, I've had a look at the processor. It's a D780, so it's one of these NEC chips which has been used here. So it's not a 6303 or a Z80 or anything like that. It's a different processor. But yeah, it's a nice unit. Just unfortunately, I've got two of them. None of them work.